This little video is just going to help you write up AC 1.4 for Unit 3. This is a really straightforward write-up and it's worth 6 marks, so in the controlled assignment you really won't want to spend more than about 25 minutes on it, because if you overwrite it then you won't leave yourself enough time for the other sections. Can I just remind you that you should not be copying out of textbooks or your notes, okay? So if you are doing a write-up, please make sure that you put everything into your own words. So when it comes to writing up the rights of the individual, you are looking at 3 people. You're looking at the suspect, you're looking at victims, and you're looking at witnesses, okay? Now most of what you write will be what happens to suspects. Now, although we covered in lessons the idea of what happens with stop and search, I really wouldn't spend a great deal of time on this. The most important part of a suspect's rights are what happens at a police station once they're taken into the custody suite and then exposed to the questioning and possible searches. So you need to be quoting the right law, the PACE legislation, and anything else which is relevant, and go through what happens to a suspect. Okay, you should know that normally someone can only be held for 24 hours and then they have to be released or charged. They can be held longer with the permission of a magistrate, and you might also want to consider what happens if someone is charged with a terrorist activity, and because things are very different then. Then move on to victims and witnesses, and I think it again is really important that you talk about the codes or charters which cover what happens to victims and witnesses and what involvement there is with CPS in terms of making sure that witnesses and victims know what's going to happen to them, particularly in the run-up to a court case. Okay. The final thing you're going to want to do is mention a suspect's rights of appeal once they have been found guilty of a crime. And it is worth noting that things are different in a magistrate's court compared to what happens with Crown Court cases. Now, we do come back to the rights of appeal a bit later in one of the further ACs, but for full marks you need to mention that here. Okay, now this is very descriptive. You do not need any working examples. You do not need to be going through the strengths and weaknesses. You simply need to say what happens. Okay, so like I say, about 25 minutes in terms of real-time write-up, but this is an easy 6 marks to get. Good luck.